సార్ బాను సార్ ఒకసారి చెక్ చేయండి సార్ వచ్చినట్టున్నారు. గ్యాస్ టు బి రైట్.
I'm checking. I'm not able to find him.
Yes, sir. Is there, sir?
Is there?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rashid?
Rashid, sir?
Mr. Rashid? Hello?
Sir, please unmute your mic, Rashid, sir.
Yeah. Sir is there.
Mr. Rashid, can you hear me?
బాబా
సార్
మీన్ వైల్ ఏదైనా స్లైడ్స్ ఉంటే కనుక మీరు డిస్ప్లే చేయండి.
సార్
స్లైడ్స్ ఏమన్నా ఉంటే కనుక డిస్ప్లే చేస్తే సరిపోతుంది, అందరూ చూస్తారు కదా.
Yeah. We are done.
బాను ఏమైనా స్లైడ్స్ ఉంటే కనుక డిస్ప్లే చేయండి.
Sir, okay, sir.
I think there is some technical problem at sir and
Baba, ఒకసారి Baba, if you can call him personally.
thank you for all joining to the meeting in Zoom as well as in the YouTube. Please be online. The session starts soon.
హర్ష,
Sir, good evening, sir.
వెరీ గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్. R&D cell and placement cell jointly organized by this webinar.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
R&D cell and placement cell.
Yes, sir. No, so placement cell is organized and just supporting, sir.
Supporting the R&D department.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So anywhere your presence is compulsory.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Your services are required.
Yes, sir.
But I think poor participants is there.
Sir?
I think poor participants is there. Only 34 or 35 is there.
No, in YouTube, many participants are there, sir.
Okay. In YouTube also.
Zoom చాలా తక్కువ మందికి ఇచ్చాము, మిగతా వాళ్ళందరికీ యూట్యూబ్ ఇచ్చాము, సార్.
జూమ్ యాప్ కొద్దిగా ఇన్స్టాల్మెంట్ చేసుకోవాలంటే భయపడతారు చాలా మంది.
అవును సార్. అందరికి యూట్యూబ్ ఇచ్చాం సార్ లింక్.
సార్ గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ సార్.
మీ సలహాలు చాలా అవసరం సార్, చెప్పండి ఇంకా ఏమేమో.
మా ఏం సలహాలు ఉన్నాయి సార్, మీరు చెప్పండి. మా సలహాలు ఏమున్నాయి, ఏం సలహాలు ఏమున్నాయి. కరోనా ఎక్కువ ఉధృతంగా ప్రవహిస్తుంది.
ఓకే,
అది ఇప్పుడు మేజర్.
ఇంకా ఏం సార్, ఇంకా లేటా?
ఆల్రెడీ 5:45, 10 నిమిషాలు లేట్. బాబా
ఎట్టున్నాడు?
సార్ వాళ్ళు ఆయన రిసోర్స్ పర్సన్ తో మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. సో వాళ్ళకి
ఫోన్ కాల్ లో మాట్లాడుతున్నాడేమో కదా.
అవును సార్ అక్కడ టెక్నికల్ ఇష్యూ ఉందంట. ఆయన రిసోర్స్ పర్సన్
ఆయన కాదు, ఆయన ఈజిప్ట్ నుండి ఎప్పుడు ఎత్తుకునేది.
అక్కడ నెట్వర్క్ ఇష్యూ వచ్చిందంట. సో అది రీస్టార్ట్ అవుతుందండి సిస్టమ్. ఒక 5
కాదు,
minutes.
ఆయన ఈజిప్ట్ నుండి ఎప్పుడు ఎత్తుకునేది ఏంట.
అదే సార్.
అందులో మంచి సాయంత్రం పూట పెట్టారు.
అవును సార్.
ఈవినింగ్ టైం
అక్కడ అర్లీ మార్నింగ్ సార్. అక్కడ
అర్లీ మార్నింగ్ అవునులే. మనకి ఇక్కడ నిద్రపోయి సాయంత్రం ఈవినింగ్ పడుకొని లేచే టైం ఇది. ఇలా స్లైడ్స్ కూడా వేసుకోలేదు, ఊరికే బాలాజీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సొసైటీ వేస్తున్నారు అంతే.
అదే స్లైడ్స్ ఆయన దగ్గరే ఉన్నాయి.
కాదు, ప్లేస్మెంట్స్ సెల్ ఫోటోలు వేస్తుంటే సరిపోతుంది, అందరు చూసుకుంటే టైం పాస్ అవుతుంది కదా.
సార్ నేను చెప్తాను సార్, వీళ్ళంతా ఆయన్ని కనెక్ట్ చేసే దాంట్లో ఉన్నారు.
అవునవునవునులే, అర్థమైంది. ఏదో ప్లేస్మెంట్ ఫోటోలు మా ఎంసీఏ ఎంబీఏ కాలేజ్ ఫోటోలు అలా వేసుకుంటా అంటే టైం పాస్ అయినారు అంతా చూసుకుంటాను. బాబా
బాబా లేడు, మైక్ ఆఫ్ చేస్తున్నట్టున్నాడు బాబా.
అదే బాబా లేడు. ఈయన ఒకవైపు ఫోన్ చేస్తుంటే ఆయన ఒకవైపు ఫోన్ చేస్తుంటే ఆయన ఫోన్ బిజీ వస్తుంటాడు. ఏడ తప్పెట్టు కొట్టినారు.
గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ సార్. సార్ గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్.
ఎవరు సార్ గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ చెప్పిరే?
సార్ నేను సార్ లక్ష్మీ గణేష్ సార్. లక్ష్మీ గణేష్ సార్.
లక్ష్మి
గణేష్ సార్, ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ ఎంబీఏ సార్.
బాగున్నావు బాబు? కృష్ణ
అవునండి సార్, మీరు సార్?
ఓకే బాగున్నా, మంచి పని చేసినావులే. వెరీ గుడ్.
Resource Development has come up with this exclusive webinar on banking and trade finance for all the students and faculty members of Sri Balaji Educational Society. The objective behind this program is to let all our students and faculty understand the in-depth insights into the topic on banking and trade finance from the one who is proficient in the subject and one who has international exposure. Banking and trade finance go hand in hand and so crucial in the financial stability of any nation. As students of business, one needs to have thorough information with these two sectors. Here, I will put an end to my introductory note and would like to call upon Ms. Ram Lalitya to read out the profile of the resource person of today's webinar. Over to you, Ms. Ram Lalitya.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening to all. I'm Ramy Abd El Rasheed, pursuing BTech at PVKK Institute of Technology. I feel happy to read out the profile of our today's resource person, Dr. Ramy. Dr. Ramy Abd El Rasheed is an accomplished trade finance supervisor with over 11 years of experience in the National Bank of Egypt. At the National Bank, he was responsible for all the trade products, which includes LCs, documentary collections, advanced payments, etc. Also, he looked after matching trade criteria and was responsible for internal and external regulations. He is a graduate from Cairo University and received his master's in business administration from French Business School, SLSEA University. He also holds a diploma in global management from the same university. He has completed several courses in trade finance and also in the banking. His ambition in life is to see himself as one of the future leaders in the banking industry of the Middle East. We are very fortunate to have him for this webinar. I'm honored to invite him to deliver the talk. Over to you, Dr. Ramy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Welcome home and happy evening. Sorry for bad connection, but I don't know it's from my side or just something due to the application itself. Today, I hope we can. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. As mentioned before from my precious colleagues, I'm here just to explain more about banking and trade finance from scope of beginners or entry levels. I hope today with the session should be benefit for all of you. So let's start, please. Can I move? I don't have the ability to move the slides, please. So yeah, please. Today our scope will be to two main categories. We will speak briefly about banking itself, and we will go for headlines or more specific about trade finance. So let's start about the banking itself and know more about the banking world. Please move to the next slide. At the first chapter, our scope will be about banks, and we will know the definition of the bank, and we will go through the banking system and know more about sectors and types. We will know about the department and rating of banks, and finally, we will have main scope about retail and corporate and why we can divide all banking clients to retail customers and corporate customers. So let's start about the definition. From when we were young, when we are child, and now when we hear that's the bank, what first thing come at our minds? The first thing when I was young, and everyone from yours hear the word bank, he will understand one only thing. It's a place which I can put money as a deposit, or I can withdraw money as loans. So the main idea of bank is to exchange money from someone who want to deposit it at the bank, and the other who is looking for loans. This is the main idea for the bank or for creating something called the bank. Nowadays, many financial institutions are doing the same. From the definition of the bank itself, we can say that he take a license to receive deposit, as we mentioned, and make loans. But we have to understand that banks didn't only make those two rules. Banks also provide many financial services, such as wealth management, currency exchange, safe deposit boxes, and many other things. Wealth management, like when I have a portfolio or an amount of money and I want someone who will invest it for any field, I will go for a bank, and there are many wealth managers at different banks all over the world. They will take my deposit or my portfolio and try to put it at different places, so I will have revenues more than the interest of the bank. Currency exchange, simply when I'm trying to travel from a country to another country, I'm looking for another currency or something like that. So the bank are trying to give those travelers or any other people who are looking for a different currency that amount. Safe deposit box, as here in Egypt, you may, or anywhere all over the world, you can have a box and bought something valuable for you inside the bank, and it will be yours until for a period of time. Also, there are many services bank provide. It's considered as financial and non-financial service. We will go through it later on, but mainly here I want you to understand more about what manage or who manage the rule of banks, who put regulations. Is that the same at everywhere? No. But everywhere you will find a regulator which will set or put the main rules for a bank. Here it's called central bank. For America, it's called federal bank. At Singapore, it's MSA, and so on. So at everywhere you will find a regulator or a regulations party which will be manage all kind of banks. So that means, is there many kinds of banks? Yes, for sure. But there are three main kind or types of banks. First of all, which is more common all over the world, and all of us know them because they are around us, it's commercial banks. Commercial banks are doing the main uh, jobs for banks, deposit and loans and other service, and it's very famous all over the world and very common to have a bank and is a commercial bank. Another type, which is more specific or more specialized, is an investment or a specialized bank. And that bank is initiated for a purpose or a single purpose. You know, here we have a specialized bank for agriculture. So the main purpose of it is to help farmers or to help to provide raw materials or something like that. So the main purpose of that bank is for something specific. Also, investment bank are trying to put capital for others, or if I'm looking for, you know, expand my capital, I will go for investment bank because it will be a long-term contract. Also, the third or the main third category, which is national central bank, as we mentioned, it's the one who is issuing the currency and set monetary policy. It's the central bank, as we mentioned. I forgot to tell you that. Plus, he is doing or making the regulations at most country. He is issues the currency itself. Can we move for the second slide, please? Okay. Despite the fact there are three main categories, as I mentioned, but there is also main others banks, and I can see most of them here at Egypt or at the Middle East. Islamic banks, well, Islamic banks, it's settled or it's owned by an organization which bought everything according to Sharia or according to Murabha or something like that, because they are trying to pay the regulations itself, but with, on the other hand, they are looking for Islamic way. So Islamic banks are a very common idea, especially at the Middle East and the countries which is Islam is there. So Islamic Bank is an organization held here and in Gulf, and I think, I don't know if there is an Islamic Bank at India, but each country which has a major people, which is Islamic people, they are going to deal or they are holding an Islamic bank. For us here, we have Adib, it's an Islamic bank, it's Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank, and we have also Nabat. We have many Islamic banks here in Egypt and in the Middle East. Offshore banks, I don't know if you heard about offshoring before or no, but the idea of offshoring bank is to have a main or the head office at a place which is called a tax haven, and I don't care if I'm managing or if I have a main branch there or not, but I'm putting my head office at a place which is a tax haven. So I will benefit from taxes, I will benefit from everything related for that place, but actually I'm operating at a different place, you know? So it's an offshoring. I have my head office at place, but actually I'm going to operate at another places. Also, we have an internet bank, which is bank already working only internet. It's very common at USA. Here in Egypt, we have something called Egyptian Food Bank. It's related to provide foods for poor people or something like that. But it's a bank. It's a kind of a bank here. And there are main two point of view if I'm going to talk about banks from profit. So I have a bank looking for profit or profit-making enterprise, and others which is owned by government or which is held with a special or something different rules. It's non-profit organization, like Orlet Bank. Orlet Bank it's the biggest bank all over the world. It's provide countries with investment they need. It's held not for profit, but for helping all organizations. So later on, we will go through regulations. Regulations each bank should obey, or the regulations established for banks to obey it or to be matching the criteria. You know, there are many organizations all over the world put or settle rules for banks like Basel or like FAT, or many organizations. Those organizations telling their rules or set rules for central bank, and central bank is the one who had to manage or to apply that for all banks under his umbrella. So each bank should have three main categories. It should be accessible and stable and safe, for sure. Accessible, so I can access or I can call or be there or find my bank whenever I want. Stable, for sure, because I will not want my money, or I will not have money from some place. It's not, I cannot sure he will be there tomorrow or not. And for sure safe. Also, we have mentioned about the regulations before, but in more deep, audit. Audit should be from the outside regulations. Both people which will go through banks to make sure that each and every bank are following the regulations. They make more than 3 or 4 visits every year to see everything is going well, and they both internal auditors also. No, please wait a second. Yes, please. Okay. USA have a very special rating organization, which is called Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. It's something like they giving them alert if that organization is good, so they will rate it from 1 to 2. If it's not good or things are not going to be bad, they rate it from 3 to 4. But if it was 5, you must know that that organization will go through bankruptcy soon, for less than 12 months. It's something related to USA itself. But we have here all over the world some organization like Standard & Poor's and Fitch. They are not only rating banks, but also rating all organizations. And they also rate the country itself. So we have to mention or have to see ourselves, which rate we are and why, and what about the future. And at the same country, you can see the country itself is rating for scale 4, for example, and the bank is rating 1. It's not related, or the whole country takes the same rate. No. Standard & Poor's, Fitch are rating every organization and the country itself separately. Everyone separate. Okay, can we move for a second, please? Okay. From my point of view and from anyone's point of view, we can see two main categories for banking clients. We have retail or personal client and corporate. So if you are going to have an account at a bank, you are going to have an account because you are a person or a client or a customer on your own, or you are going to make an account for your organization or for entity. So the main two categories for banks account or banking clients is retail and corporate. Retail is the individuals, and corporate divided to SMEs and large corporate. So one of the most important services that banking provide for corporates mainly is trade finance. Why? And the idea of trade finance and why I'm going to talk about trade finance, because it's my field. We will go through it next chapter, but I would rather to have questions or something like that, or if anything unclear for chapter 1, may you have text me or send me so I can reply it before any of you forget, or just take a notes if you want. But if you don't want, we will move to next chapter. Okay, sounds really good. Second chapter, we are going to talk briefly about trade finance. Sorry, okay, move on. Okay, briefly about trade finance, because trade finance itself is, you know, it's very huge. It's something very huge, and if you are talking about it from in deep idea, you will go through many regulations, and many organizations are setting rules. So I try to make things simple, but at the same time, I want you to understand the idea of trade finance. So we'll go through trade finance definition. We will go through role of banks, the challenges, risk and costs, and trade finance products. Then we will go through the international trade documents. So please, let's move for trade finance definition. Simply before I go through trade finance or the idea of trade finance, mainly if you hear, or if any of you hear the concept itself, you must know that you want trade finance or you need trade finance because you have an importer and exporter. You have a buyer and I have a seller. You have someone who wants to exchange goods by money. Simply, that's the main idea or the main concept will let me go through trade finance, or will let me, for financial institution, for client itself, think about something called trade finance. I have or I need goods and I will pay for it, simply. So trade finance itself, it's a financial instruments or products used by organization to facilitate trade and commerce between two clients. It doesn't mean that two clients have to be at different countries, but for international trade, or most of cases, they are located at different countries. And offshore banks provide many financial products to make trade finance visible. You will see that later on. So please go through it. Yeah. So what's the main role of the bank? We have an exporter and we have an importer. So exporter want to trade successfully. He want to send his goods or his products or his services and gain his money. So simply, he want to trade successfully, efficiently, and make a profit for sure. So banks connect them, product and service, but by manage the international routes. And they are also provide them with two main things. It's information service and payment and financial service. Information service because they have their correspondent, because they have knowledge about the trade finance product itself. So they will, if you want to have, for example, your money first, the bank will tell you, you must use advance payment. Or if you want to be secured, the bank tell you, use LC, and so on. That's the information service. Payment and financial service, because for sure I will use bank to make payment or to settle payment or whatever. And to finance my position, if I am exporter and I want the bank to finance me, if to make the product itself exist. So they will help me to have the raw materials, they will help me for processing, they will help me for many things. And on the other hand, if I'm importer, the bank will maybe fund me till I will resell the goods at the local markets, and I will have to pay for them. So this is the main role of the bank. Okay. May you go through the next paragraph, please? No, that's challenged. Yeah. As we mentioned before, the main purpose is to exchange goods for money. Goods for money. For domestic sales, maybe there is a risk. But what is the challenge or the risk here? The domestic, I mean the main or the same place, the same area, the same country. At the same country or the domestic market, I have commercial and transport risk. Commercial risk because any commercial transaction have its his risk. So, for example, prices may be raised up or raised down, maybe goods are not in the same quality, and many other things. Transport risk, because at the same country, I still have risk to move goods from the buyer or the exporter to the seller. So I still have the same risk. In addition to that, when I'm trying to, on the other hand,
Good evening, all. I think again some technical issue arised at resource person end. We will try to resolve it as early as possible. Please stay on the line.
సార్ ఒకసారి అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి ఈయన రమీ సార్ గారు. భాను సార్ అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి.
Sir, we have given unmute request, sir. Yeah, sir was unmuted.
Sorry for bad connection. It's my mistake. Sorry.
Yes, sir. No issues, sir, please.
Will we continue, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I stopped at, for example, which is trying to explain more about transfer risk. The main idea of transfer risk that I have to pay for a different country with a different currency, which was I don't have it. So may I have a local currency and I want to pay for the seller, but I don't have the foreign currency. And for sure, exchange rate risk, which is related to fluctuation between currencies prices. It's not the same, not stable, and going up and down. So maybe the same goods are going to have different price from time to another. Also, we have at international trade many changes, many challenges, like different laws. They are here at Egypt, I have my laws. There at India, they have their rules. And if we are going to trade with each other, that which law we will be applied? Is it the Egyptian law or the Indian law? So different laws are going to make us have to settle everything. For sure, language. Different languages can make lack of understand, or maybe I will understand something which is totally different for the thing I want to trade. And also regulations. We had here at Egypt from like 3 or 4 years something at trade, which will be go through it at the commentary collection later on. But I want to mention it later on, but just remember if I forget, because it will let you know how the regulations may lead the way of trading between countries. Risk and costs, yeah. We have many risks here. We have many risks because we have risk to lose money. We have risk to couldn't make payment or make payment for a late period of time. That's all at finance, or we have risk to finance international trade. A financial institution they are trying to finance trade finance product or trade finance transaction, and things are not going to be good. So I will lose Yeah, thank you. Sorry again. So we stopped at importer and exporter, and what's the risk between, or the risk and costs they are going to have. Importer, if he ship the goods, they will have a main risk that he will not get his payment back. So he's trying to find a solution that without any way, with any tool of trade finance, that his payment will be returned back for him. And for the importer, the main risk will be the performance and the quality of the goods and the timing and everything related to performance. So to be considered by both parties, for them the main risks and costs, and try to find the products which can manage or can handle that risk away from them. So that's where trade finance products shown up to cover customer needs, customer importer and exporter needs. And we will go through them to know how they can cover such things. Next slide, please. Product of trade finance, yeah, for sure. Why we need to trade? We need to trade because I have a benefit, or I have something which is I'm doing it very well. For example, here in Egypt, you can find orange. For example, it's classified from the first products worldwide, cotton, the Egyptian cotton, and many other things. So why people are trading? Why I need to trade my best products for another countries? Because I'm not the best at everything. Maybe I'm the best one at something like orange or cotton or something like that, but I'm not the best at.
సార్ బాను సార్ అది ఒకసారి అడ్మిట్ చేయండి. Sorry again. I opened from my mobile because I don't know what's wrong with the PC. I said that some new concept like nearshoring and offshoring and onshoring. It's a new concept. It's all of them are trying to best utilize everyone benefits. If my benefits at the car itself, if we took the car, for example, I could make the shape very well, but I couldn't make it. I couldn't make glasses, for example, or I couldn't make tires. So I benefit from my best value, and the car goes through very long line. So we go through nearshoring, which means that I could make my factory at the next or the nearest country beside me, so we all can trade and make finished product with a value add with the lowest cost available. The main trade finance products are used to trade between exporter and importer. Is 4 main categories: documentary collection or collections, for example, documentary credit or LC, some countries call it LC, standby letter of credit or guarantees, and finally trade loans. There are 2 main key elements we have to look inside every and each tool of them to know more about them. The first one is the risk coverage. What risk each and every one from those tools are covered. And the second one, professional finance, or how they can finance the trade process. So let's go through the first type of trade finance product, which is documentary collections, or at some countries they call it collections. For the next slide, please. Collections or documentary collections. The main idea or the main concept about collections is that the exporter going for his bank, because his bank has a very wide or very long correspondent banks or correspondent banks relationship. So he want, if I'm the exporter, I go for my bank, which has a relationship with a bank, for example, at India. So my bank will tell me that I will contact bank, Keep Hana Bank, for example, and I will send the documents for it. So that means I have the powerful or the strong corresponding banking relationship. For me as an exporter, I want to have my money, so I will put my invoice, my bill of lading, or the document of title of goods to my bank and tell them send it for payment instruction and name it. There are many kind of payment instruction. Maybe I will put it for side payment so that the buyer cannot take the documents unless he will pay. Maybe I will put it deferred and so on. So mainly, the main idea of documentary collection that bank are calling or contact another bank, so he will put an instruction. Due to this instruction will apply, that bank will deliver those documents to the client or to the buyer. The organization which put all rules for trade finance is called ICC, and they make different publication to manage every one from trade finance product. So what manage documentary collection called URC, Uniform Rules for Collection 522. I don't want to dig in deep for collections, but mainly you have to know that there are something called commercial documents, and there are something called financial documents, and there are something called transport documents. But why we are need to know that? Because if you are going to do business, if you are going to have a customer, or if you have a relationship with a customer, which is going to trying to know more about trading, you have to know basics about every product. You have to know the varieties every bank provides. So if you're going through the commercial documents mean something related to commerce. So it will be invoice itself, it will be bill of lading, or the transport documents, which mean I cannot take that goods without the transport documents. So it's the documents of the title of goods. And on the other hand, I have something called financial documents. We called it a trade promissory notes or bill of exchange or something like that. I don't want you to dig in deep inside those things, but I want you to know more about the idea of documentary collection. Bank are calling bank to apply circumstances or specific rules or rules if his customer or his client or pay it or make it, for example, payment, or for example, sign an undertake or sign bill of exchange. If your customer, I am the bank calling my bank, another bank or corresponding bank, if your customer apply or accept rules which I put at my cover letter, please release those documents for the client. Both are win. Exporter win because he bought his rules, he had a bank channel, you will get payment. And that one will get benefit too because he will have his original documents, he had things good, and he will make payment upon their contract. Second way or second slide, as he make it now, documentary credit. Documentary credit is called at many countries letter of credit or documentary credit or something like that. It's another product from ICC. They make it they make something like ICC like URC, but it's called UCB 600, which is managed, and it's like the documentary collection that finally they are trading, or the main idea of trading between banks, that banks are dealing in documents only. We don't care if the goods inside the place are the same as it's written on the invoice or written at the LC or the written at documentary collection. Banks are not care about the existing documents. We are dealing with documents only. So documentary credit is an undertake from bank to a bank, that if you, bank X, will give me bank Y that require documents, once you will give me those documents, I will pay back for you. I will pay back this amount of money of you. There are a Swift gate and many details at that point. I don't want you to go in deep, but you have to know something like you have a Swift called 700, which is the LC4 till now. They are using worldwide, for example. And also you have to know that LC or documentary credit is the most secured tool of trade finance payment. It's the most secured one because bank are calling bank, but here, if the bank just put the documents as I asked or as agreed at 700 message, payment will be settled directly. Not like documentary collection, I have to call my customer to accept the documents. No, at documentary credit or LC, once the bank provide me with documents I need, I will settle payment upon receiving those documents. Third one, and it will be for the second slide, it will be a standby letter of credit. Standby letter of credit or guarantee, it's a revocable undertake issued by a bank or issued by an organized financial institution on behalf of the applicant or instruction party to another party, that I will pay an amount or a specific amount of money upon receiving request or specific documents named at the standby letter of credit itself from the beneficiary. So I have an applicant come to me as a bank and tell me issue an LC or issue an LG for Mr. Fakhruddin, for example. So Mr. Fakhruddin has a power to collect that amount of money just when he will provide the bank, my bank or his bank, with that letter or complied request that I want to collect that money. Standby letter of credit or guarantees is against any other, or at the other hand of any other trade product that usually we are not using it. We are using it to just secure the trade process. But if the trade process handled or done correctly, I will not lead standby letter of credit or guarantee, because they are guarantee. It's guarantee the trading process itself. It's not issued to be used. It is issued to secure the trade process. And finally, slide before that, please. Yeah, trade finance loans. Trade finance loans, it's not a product. It's as it's named a product, but it's a tool that a financial institution used for a purpose of finance, for example, line or something for a specific client. It's related with an idea of asset conversion cycle. I don't know if you heard recently about the blockchain or supply chain or something like that, but mainly trade finance loans are generated for those, because at supply chain finance, the finance is making for we are making finance for the whole trade process or the whole trading process from raw material to the end user. So trade finance process loans or trade finance loans as a product, it's trying to make asset conversion cycle, turn raw material to a finished goods and be sold. They are financing the gap from that period to this period. So they are reducing foreign exchange risk for sure, because most of loans are issued by receivable currency. It's a very important point here. Trade finance loans are reducing foreign currency exchange because that kind of products are issued at receivables currency. And finally, I want you to know about the main documents we need at trading process, at all those trading process. It will be at the final slide, please. It's divided to commercial, which is included the financial documents, and transport documents for sure. So if you go through the last slide, please. Yeah. All trading, all products, as I mentioned before, are using one of those, or two or three, specific or depend on each case. But we have two main categories: commercial documents and transport documents. And why we are trying to make it at two main categories? Just try to make something specific or simple for anyone who will hear about trade finance. Commercial documents, it will be included perform invoice or purchase order or any other tool used for advance payment or open LC. It's a preparation for shipping documents. For shipping documents, it's commercial invoice and banking list, certificate of origin, and bill of exchange for sure, inspection certificate, and insurance documents. So the first two before shipping. Last of commercial documents after first two are using after shipping the documents itself or after shipping the goods. So we are issuing all of those documents after shipping those documents, after shipping the goods. Finally, the second kind of documents we use are transport documents. Here, it's specific to the way or the tool of shipment I use. If I use sea, so I will use marine or ocean bill of lading. If I use air by plan, I will use airway bill. If I use way bill or truck, I will use truck or railway or waterway consignment note and other ways. I have to mention that there is something called Incoterm. It's explain more about transport documents and the risk and the responsibilities between buyer and seller, and while risk and responsibilities transfer from seller to a buyer. And it's not really our scope now, but that's it about transport documents and commercial documents. I wish I was not talking too fast or unclear. I tried not to dig in deep or try to go through many items at trade finance. I tried to make things simple. I hope I made it as I wish. But I really need to hear from you if you have any questions or something unclear, so I will clear it for you. I think that's it. Thanks for you all. So I will hear your questions from now.
If any participant has any queries, please unmute your mic and you can ask a question.
So one of the participant, Dr. Ramy, he's having a question saying that who can be given trade finance loans? Can you specify the eligibility factors for getting the loans?
Okay. Well, organization which have the ability to give trade finance loan is not many all over the world, because to have a trade finance or to give a trade finance loan, that means you have to make an analysis for the whole industry, make analysis for the all clients or customers are dealing from the step of raw material to not only finished products, no, for payment or payment to be settled. So you have to make to know the whole picture or know the whole process. But there are many organizations are making trade finance loans, like EBRD. If you heard about it, it's an organization at Europe, and they are making trade finance loans for financial institution all over the world. They are making a trade loan for my bank, for example. So my bank can make a financial way to another customer. So it's a common trend, but it's very new, and not all organizations can make it because they need very deep researches and they need experts at many fields, because you need an expert at the field of construction, for example, to make a trade finance loan for construction organization. You need agricultural expert if you will make a trade finance loan for agricultural organization, and so on. And you need to have something know CDD, customer due diligence. You have to know everything about all clients, not only your client. All clients will deal with your loan.
Okay, thank you. There is another question. Is there any validity period for letter of credit or document of credit?
Is there what?
Is there any validity period for letter of credit?
I don't hear you all, please. Can you send me a question?
Okay, I'll repeat the question.
Yeah,
So
please.
is there any time period for letter of credit?
Time
period.
Time period. Yeah, for sure. LC must have time period and must have maximum amount and must have place of discharge and the port of loading. Must have everything. I just didn't mention that because I don't want you to know more or to make hassle information about each product of that. If you have more time and it will be a specific session, I will dig in deep about every product and what is included at, for sure. LC or documentary credit had a period of time, and had if it's not used during that period of time, that means that LC didn't use and go expired. Yes, for sure.
Okay, one of the participant is having another question. Is there any document to be produced in case of traded goods traveling while traveling to different countries other than origin or destination country?
Different documents. If I'm trading internationally, you mean?
Yes.
Bill of lading or transport documents. If I'm trading domestically, at the same country. Maybe I will not need an organization which I will ship my goods during it. I will just will handle that with my buyer, for example. But internationally, for sure, I will need an organization that will carry the goods for me. Why I need an organization? Why I need that? Because if I try to ship documents on my own, ship goods on my own, it will be very costly. But if I find an organization which will have a ship or have a way to ship my goods, that will be less expensive for me and for the buyer, for sure.
Okay. So if any of the participants still have any questions, you can directly unmute yourselves and you can ask the question with the resource person, or else you can type in the chat box. Okay, thank you, Ramy. I think participants don't have any questions, so maybe they have understood you fully.
I hope.
Okay, so let me conclude this particular session with the vote of thanks for this particular session.
Thank you. You want me to conclude the presentation?
Yes, yes. The soul that gives thanks can find comfort in everything. The soul that complains can find comfort in nothing. With much respect to the above words, I come before you again to propose vote of thanks for all the people involved in the success of today's webinar. I'm immensely grateful to our Honorable Chairman, Sri P. Venkat Krishna Kishore Garu, for his continuous encouragement for all the academic endeavors and supporting us in the conduction of this event too. Thank you, sir, for your incessant support. I also would like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. P. Ramesh Babu Garu, Principal PVKKIT, for supporting us by giving thorough guidance from time to time. Thank you, sir, for your valuable guidance. I owe my gratitude to the resource person of today's webinar, Dr. Ramy Abd El Rasheed, for his instant acceptance and also for delivering a wonderful talk. Your talk will definitely inspire our students to look beyond the realms into banking and also into the trade finance. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful talk. I would like to place on my gratitude to Dr. C. Bonikiran Garu, Dean Placements, for sculpting the today's program from the beginning till end. Thank you, sir, for all the efforts you have taken. I also heartfully thank Mr. Baba Fakhruddin Garu, who has taken all these strains for the successful completion of this webinar. Thank you, Baba, sir, for your strains. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants for attending this webinar with much excitement. Without you, there is no meaning to this webinar. Thank you all once again for your patient listening and staying throughout the session even after the repeated technical problems. So thank you one and all. I'm concluding this session.
Thank you, sir.
Bhanu sir, would you like to say something?